This is the Cleanweb Conversations podcast, growing the global Cleanweb community. It is your host, Woon Tan.
Welcome to the Cleanweb Conversations channel. I'm your host, Woon Tan, and I'm really happy to have with me James Johnston, who's the founder of Open Utility today. And Open Utility is founded in January 2013. You're a peer-to-peer online marketplace for renewable energy generators to connect directly with customers, to give customers and energy generators a real choice and transparency. Mm-hmm. So it's a very revolutionary company, and it's got big visions. You've actually been part of the Cleanweb community for quite a while, and you've actually found your co-founder Andy Kilner in the London Cleanweb meetup. You've been going on for the last 2 years, and you've actually been funded by a number of organizations, including a school for startup. You're part of the incubator program of BGV, Bethnal Green Ventures, and you've received investment funding from Enernet Trust, Climate Kick, as well as the government, the Department of Energy and Climate Change.
Yep.
Welcome to the show. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Woon. Very pleased to be here myself.
So, James, could you talk us through more about what is Open Utility?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I could sum it up better than you did. Essentially, we are very much a Cleanweb company. We were very much in the intersection of sustainability, renewables, and the internet. Our product that we're building right now is a web service that enables energy consumers to switch away from their current utility companies and instead buy their energy directly from local renewable generators. So it's both encouraging people to make sort of smart decisions, give them the choice. You know, instead of only a few utility companies to choose from, they can choose between, in theory, thousands of different renewable generators, depending on the relationship with them, whether they're local or they like wind or they don't like wind, or it's this idea of choice. So we see the value is very much, of course, it's helping to tackle very big problems around carbon emissions and climate change, but also this idea of enabling people to support the local community. So by buying your energy from a local renewable generator, a community-owned generator, you help keep more money in the local area. That helps make the local economy stronger. So there's a lot of sort of hidden value benefits in this new model that currently are not able to happen.
That's really exciting. So it's very much a Cleanweb company, because it's only possible because of the web and the whole internet.
Well, I mean, it's actually, I'd even go deeper than that. I'll tell you a little bit about the sort of why we started the company and where the idea came from. And it was actually from a talk I saw on YouTube called the Enernet by Bob Metcalfe. Bob Metcalfe was one of the inventors of the Ethernet protocol, so very much in the internet history. And he basically wrote a talk. He presented a talk about how we can learn from the history of the internet and apply those key lessons into how some of the big challenges we have with energy. And it's a 1 hour talk. I'd strongly encourage everyone to.
I'll actually forward a link on YouTube here.
Perfect, because I mean, after watching that, I felt like my eyes were open. It's like, this is it. We need a completely new way of thinking about it, about a decentralized system for energy, one that really copies the architecture of the internet. And from there, sort of, I was just playing around with some ideas. I was doing this at the time. I was studying for a PhD, and at the end of 2012, my PhD the funding came to an end. My PhD was kind of looking at the long-term future. So actually taking these lessons of an internet of energy and actually thinking, could we physically route packets of energy around, like packets of IP? You know, it's quite a revolutionary idea. It requires quite a lot of hardware changes, energy storage, direct current microgrids. A lot of really innovative stuff is required to enable that to happen. When I came to the end of that, I was like, you know, it's not something I can do with this now. It's 20 years away. And I wanted to sort of, I still really like this overall concept, but is there something I can do which I can enable to happen now in existing systems? And then that's when I was at this sort of juncture, so in sort of January 2013, whether to sort of try and get a job and do the normal thing people do, or, you know, just have a go at starting a company with these general idea. I was quite lucky to have my girlfriend to be able to support me for a couple of months, so I didn't need to get a job, which was kind of really key. And then I sort of jumped in the deep end, and I got a loan out from School for Startups, which enabled me not to get a job for a bit longer. And what it did was it changed the way I described what I was doing. Instead of saying, I've got this idea to people down the pub or at Cleanweb meetups, I would be, this is what I'm doing. This is my full-time job now. This is, I've committed. And I think it was that when I met Andy, I just looked at the date. It was the 25th of February. At a Cleanweb meetup in Camden, and I think it took Andy about 6 minutes for him to sort of go, this is pretty cool.
It took him 6 minutes to join your company.
Well, 6 minutes for him to really like the idea. I think he was at a stage of his thinking that he wanted to do something in peer-to-peer. He had experience in energy as well, and I think he really liked the idea just immediately. And I think a week later, I asked him, "Do you want to have a go at this? Let's found this together." And he said yes. So it's sort of a little bit mad in hindsight, but it worked out perfectly. And wouldn't be here doing the sort of modest achievements to date without that so far.
Yeah, that's a really amazing story. And I think I really like the fact that you mentioned Bob Metcalfe being the inspiration behind it, because I've actually seen some of his videos and his talks, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I got into Cleanweb myself.
Okay, cool.
The idea that energy should be, if it's going to be replicable as the sort of internet infrastructure, then in theory it would be like information being abundant and sort of ubiquitous, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think we are sort of part of this Cleanweb movement, that we do see that it's going to be huge. And
I think there's a very subtle difference in philosophy from Cleanweb people and people that are just purely in clean tech or environmentalism, and it's this idea, it's this underlying optimism. I think a lot of environmentalists have got this sort of picture of doom for the future, and how do we minimize our exposure or impact of this doom, whilst people coming with the internet philosophy saying, there's a really amazing, abundant energy future out there. We've got some big problems like climate change, but we can solve them, no problem. And I think that's definitely not where I and we as a company sit on that side of things. But I think there's that little bit of optimism. That's a key difference between, and that's what I think makes Cleanweb really exciting is the optimism. And it's not just blind optimism. It's based on evidence that radical change can happen. It's not going to be quick. The internet didn't become an overnight success the moment a transistor was invented in 1948, for example. It takes a while for the pieces to put in place, but ultimately you won't find anyone in the especially in the developed world to say the internet hasn't radically changed most things in their lives. And I think energy is, if not a subset of the internet, it's a sort of sister of the internet, and the energy can become distributed, decentralized, democratic as well. Sure. And with all the benefits with that.
Cool. So you talked a bit about how you started and how you how you met your co-founder. So what's been the challenges since sort of you?
The challenges.
Yeah.
Where do I begin?
I'm sure there are plenty.
That's the key thing. There's plenty of challenges. There's always there's always underlying sense of what if, and this has got less over time, but it was pretty much, I remember the first day and the first week of Bethnal Green Ventures, when it essentially became like a real startup at that point, rather than just me and Andy down at Google Campus Cafe hacking out some code. You know, it was like, we've got an investor now, we've got to do stuff. And I remember this sort of feeling of, wow, this is really exciting. I hope it lasts more than 3 to 6 months, because this felt like, I don't know, but it's this feeling of, is this an idea that can work? Is this, when's the party going to end? And then we realize it was all just a silly idea in the first place, or is it going to be, are we going to go from strength to strength or whatever? And that sort of uncertainty, because we're not doing anything which has been specifically done in energy before. We don't know if this is going to be the way the future of energy. We hope so, but we don't know. So it's that uncertainty, which I think comes in from time to time, sort of haunts you a little bit. But I think over time, once you get enough people that sort of believe in you as well, then that starts to break down a little bit. I think we're feeling pretty confident at the moment. We've still got a lot to prove, and we're still in the product development stage, well, just got to wait and see, I guess. But we're getting more confident.
Yeah, you did start a platform for price comparisons for renewable energy generators, and that's something that's a first as well, isn't it, in the market?
Yeah. So last summer we were in the process of trying to secure some funding from the government, from DEC, and that was been quite protracted, and it took quite a while to ultimately get that money, and we were in a bit of a lull at that point. And one thing that we saw that in industry, a sort of a simple service that we could provide to the industry that had some value, which didn't require us to sort of radically change the industry like our peer-to-peer product was to do a comparison service for renewable generators. It's very much like a price comparison service for renewable generators to get the best price for selling their power. That's been quite an interesting journey, actually. And we have quite recently had to make some quite difficult decisions about what the future of that product is going to be. I think one of the realities of being a startup is, the most important thing is cash, but the second most important thing is time. And I think what we're trying to work out right now, do we have enough time to have 2 services going on? And if not, then how will this service evolve? What will become? Because we've built up some value in this service. We've got quite a lot of useful things that we can sort of give to the industry, and I guess what we're working at right now is how we can evolve that product into something which doesn't require much of our time, but still is useful for someone. So we can very much focus on the peer-to-peer product. So that for example, is just one story and one of the difficult decision-making processes you need to make. And there's fundamentally no rules. There's no
it's sort of one step closer towards your bigger goal.
Yeah. And there's so many positive things that's just come from launching that service and learning a lot about the industry as well, that if we had a choice to do it, back there with the knowledge we have, we definitely would have done it anyway. So it's one of those things, as a startup, you're always sort of pivoting a little bit. Pivoting classically means you've got the same goal, the same destination in mind. It's the sort of route to get to there, which changes depending on, you've got to learn, you've got to adapt. And that was just, one of these sort of micro pivots we made to sort of move into the comparison side of things. we're learning from it. So yeah, that's one of the things.
That's a really good example of how someone listening to this could really take some steps to move towards a bigger goal, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, talk us through. I guess so you've got the pilot project coming up, or sort of you're starting your pilot project right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, how is that going?
Yeah, so we got funding from Nominate Trust and Department of Energy and Climate Change, Climate Kick, to the tune of £500,000, which is a big bunch of.
It's a big vote for your.
It's a big vote for us. It sounds like quite a lot of money, but actually it's not sort of a bunch of money up front. It's sort of tied to milestones. And we've got a sort of project plan set out over this year where we're going to be trying to hit these different milestones. And the project essentially is partnering with a utility company and sort of working with them to pilot our peer-to-peer service for business customers. One of our learnings over the last year and a half is the energy sector and the utility sector is very heavily regulated, and we are not able to launch our peer-to-peer service for residential customers because of regulation, and also because there's not smart meters in place. So there's some big problems there. But with business customers, that those problems sort of fall away. So we're focused very much on targeting business customers and small renewable generators. So anything from they can be both at the same time. So a warehouse was covered in solar panels. Sometimes a day will be exporting, and sometimes it'll be using. So we're not so precious what the identity is. It's a peer at the end of the day. It's either a consuming peer or a producing peer. And I guess this pilot will start in August and it will last for 6 months. And at the end of that, we'll basically have proven the full business model around this peer-to-peer marketplace. All those, and so it'll be around about 25 renewable generators, 25 business customers will join up to the pilot and trade and buy and sell electricity directly, which will be sort of a first. A UK first, I think, which I think is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, so you're really getting down to the product development of the real product that you're trying to create right now.
Yeah, the product contains two elements. There's the web interface. Mm-hmm. So what do the renewable generators and customers use to interface with, and then the secondary element, which is our trading engine. And our trading engine enables, basically pulls in the smart meter feeds and enables the market to balance. And there's quite a lot of sophisticated things going on in there. So those are the two things. We kind of got that under wraps. It's sort of behind private beta at the moment. But the key thing that we need to do now is integrate our systems with our partner utility. We're pretty advanced stage discussions with one utility in particular. We hope to be announcing who that will be in February, so watch this space. And I guess the next sort of stage is integrating our trading engine and our web interface with their billing systems, creating the customer contracts and the wider trading systems as well. So there's quite a lot of real heavy duty product development required over the next half a year. Yeah.
So James, you've been running your company for about 2 years now, and talk us through about the company culture within Open Utility, because you're a small startup at the moment, but you've got big visions, and it's going to be a huge company, I'm sure.
I hope so. So we're 6 of us working on Open Utility. At the moment, there's 3 founders. It's myself, Andy Kilner, and Alice Tyler. We all sort of joined at this sort of stage where it wasn't quite a company. It's a sort of early stage startup, and there's so much uncertainty, and there's no salaries or anything. And I think when you're joining that stage, you're a founder. And then we brought on our first sort of employee in November 2013, and then second and third last year. So 6 of us in total. But I mean, one thing we read a lot about. I mean, one of our sort of base cultural things is, you know, self-education, and we encourage anyone, if they want to buy a book, just charge Open Utility for it, and it becomes part of our library. It's not really we don't have in the library, but we have a shelf covered in books. And reading through a lot of books about startups and company culture, we realised that it's really important to not formalize, but make sure everyone gets on the same page, and you start to write down and understand what are the key things that make up your company culture, and you got to. I mean, a good way to start is with the question why. You know, why did you start the company? Why do you exist? What are the key values you have as a company? What's your mission? All this sort of stuff. And we've actually put a little bit of time and effort into, quite recently, into trying to really nail down what that is for Open Utility. And it makes for some very interesting workshops and brainstorming sessions of why are we here? Sort of maybe as a company, not sort of existentially, but it's been very useful trying to, you know, I guess the question is, you know, for me is why did I start Open Utility, and then others is why did you join? Why did you want to join the company? And then start working out why we're all here. What's our values? What's our mission? And from that, I think it's really key. This is really important for when we build a team beyond what it is right now. So get the next employees, so team member number 7 and 8, and then when you start getting, you know, in theory, if it start getting to larger numbers, 20 or 30, this having a really strong culture baked in is going to be so important to make sure you get the right people wanting to come and work for you, work with you. And I guess that's, I mean, there's quite a lot of companies, especially tech companies and new companies that are really focusing on these type of things, and I think it's really important. And I guess our values. I mean, we're just this morning we had a sort of another workshop looking into sort of brainstorming our mission and values, and something we're going to put up on our website soon. I can't remember off my head what we came to decide, but they were good values, good solid values.
One that's going to bring you forward, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What? So you mentioned a bit about your team, and are you hiring anyone right now?
Well, we're currently raising a little bit more investment, so we can increase the size of the team in the very near future. So we are on the lookout. We haven't quite formalised exact roles we're looking for, and indeed it's going to be multiple roles. So I mean, the realities of being in a startup is you don't end up doing one thing. You end up owning things because you want to do it or you're best suited for it. And you know, a lot of, for example, Rob, who joined us in an operations and project management role, has really championed doing the contract work, because a lot of contracts work we're doing. And that wasn't in the sort of early discussions before he came on. That it's just he was good at it and it needed to be done, and he apparently quite likes it. So, I mean, some of the kind of types of roles we're going to need in the sort of product team, we're going to need more help on the design, specifically visual design and design production side of things. We're always going to need more software developers. So that's, you know, if not in the near future, you know, it's always going to be a requirement. We're a tech company, that's obvious. And another area where we see a lot of value in hiring is someone in a sort of business analysis, commercial analysis area, someone who knows a little bit about the utility business model, who can really get down to the nuts and bolts of how to layer this new model onto the existing system. It's something we're doing very much in-house at the moment. But I think if we bring in someone with a bit more, expertise in that area, then we can sort of rapidly move forward in some things. So, someone in the energy sector would be quite good, and then communications and marketing as well. We currently don't have anyone in house who has experience in comms or marketing, and I think if not in the near future, in the next few months, towards the summer and beyond, and gearing up for the launch of our product after the pilot, that's something that's going to be really key. Mm-hmm. So yeah, watch this space. I mean, there's
definitely room for people to join your company.
Oh, there's room. Not right now. We don't have any positions open right now, but don't feel afraid to just give us your CV or call us up and say, hey, let's have a chat, because if we're always in the hunt for awesome people.
So this is a sort of question about the future.
Sure.
So if today is January 2020, looking back in the last 5 years, what would have been your highlights or your successes? Because it's always easier with hindsight.
I think one thing, a real success, the next real big success we're looking for is a successful pilot. Mm-hmm. So right at the end of 2015, so years ago in 2020, looking back and thinking that was the start of, we've proven value, we've got really excited customers, we've got a big pipeline of customers to launch commercially with, and that being sort of the first real nugget of success. We've what I'd like to see is our product evolve as well. I mean, the one we're launching on our pilot is very much the first version, the first iteration of this marketplace, where it can evolve into be a smarter, more dynamic product, going towards this vision of Internet of Energy in the long run. But moving along that roadmap, definitely want to move that forward in the next 5 years. And then the third thing is, I want to have launched open utility in more than one country. Mm-hmm. In particular, want to have a bit of a presence in the US by 2020 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a pretty I'm excited.
Yeah.
So the last question, if you got any sort of questions or things you want to mention to the audience, I guess it's sort of if you got anything last things to say to the audience.
Well, I guess one of my comments would be, and I think I said this to you earlier, was if you've got an idea, don't feel afraid to go for it. I mean, obviously, be sensible about it, and a lean approach of, don't spend too much time or too much risk improving an idea to begin with. Albeit, I didn't quite do it that way myself. But if you think you've got an idea that needs to happen, then there's no point in thinking about it. You got to start doing it, and just have a go for it. The worst thing is you can fail. And at the end, at the point that you fail, you're in a better position than if you hadn't started it in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's my general piece of advice. And if anyone asks me about what it is just try it. Don't talk about it. I mean, talk about it, but only once you've started going for it. I mean, that's the key thing. We need a lot more companies and startups and podcasts to really support the Cleanweb movement, and the more the merrier. It's not quite a movement yet, but I feel like it could be at the start of something really exciting, quite big impact to the world. And just jump on board this train. It's about to to depart the station. I don't know.
That's wise words. Thanks. Thank you very much, James. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
And you.
I'm sure the audience would really appreciate our conversation here and would learn a thing or two. So I'll wrap up now, and so I'll add on the links and annotations on this video. And so if you're interested to find out more about Open Utility, be sure to go to their website and hear more, because there are plenty of things going on.
Cool.
So thank you very much.
Thanks.
The Cleanweb Conversations Podcast.